So I would introduce myself, André Morin, and I'm the president of the IACB. So welcome, dear delegates. It's a real pleasure to greet you in Quebec City in the monastery of the Augustinian Sisters. It is with a great deal of emotion and pleasure. We are standing here, and you will spend a week in a very historic house and site. It is within these history-laden walls that our bioethical colloquium is taking place. I invite you to redouble your efforts during this week, putting respect for the person at the forefront of your reflections. Catholic religious bioethics is a bioethics of the person. It has its roots in scriptures, in Christ's openness towards outsiders, the marginalized, the poor, and the sick. Christ embraces them without judging, and he shows them the way that leads to the Father. Again, thank you very much to all of you. Thank you for being there, and may your colloquium be a success. Thank you.
I'm Jos Wely. I'm a professor of healthcare ethics at Creighton University, and I discovered these colloquia a little bit by accident. Somebody pointed out that they were happening, and I asked if I could attend and was hooked, and I haven't missed any one of them since. So each colloquium has always had one particular theme that we have tried to address. And one of the problems that has happened with every colloquium is that it's a very diverse group of people who bring concerns, interest, expertise, and it takes a while for this group to get attuned to one another and then dig in. And so we thought, now what if we try to do a little bit of that work in advance by creating a kind of frame of reference, a shared background knowledge and ideas. And so we set out to write what we call the background document, for lack of a better term, in which we've put together some state-of-the-art thinking out there in secular bioethics, as well as also sort of specifically from a Catholic perspective, in hopes that everybody then would come to the table with a little bit of shared knowledge and understanding, and we could have a running start.
Yeah, so the colloquium so far has been going very well. What's new about this year is we've drafted and presented a consensus statement. So the consensus statement essentially is a framing of ethical issues related to decision-making and consent of people with vulnerabilities. So where we're at this stage in the process, we've, as a whole group, have listened to keynote presentations on each of these groups related to decision-making and consent in healthcare. And there are 4 different groups, small groups of about a dozen in each group, with a variety of expertise in each group that have been discussing the specifics of these issues, particularly the ethics of these issues related to their group. And we're just at the stage now of having had all the group discussions completed, and we're kind of stitching together a revised version of the consensus statement that was presented initially.
My name is Mark Dunphy. I'm a member of the Canadian Association of the Order of Malta. People with impaired facilities going through a very complicated healthcare system. It intrigued me a great deal because up until this point, I never think about it. I've been lucky. I've been healthy all my life. I saw that my wife went through a very complicated system, but she had excellent help. So what do the ordinary Joe do? And I was interested in trying to figure out, thinking about these points. And also they're thinking about points from a Christian perspective, but also from a very caring perspective. The legal aspects, the economic aspects are not their major point. They're worried about it, of course, but they're really dealing about the theological, the philosophical, and the ethical aspects of healthcare.
My name is Christine Jameson. I'm a professor in the Department of Theological Studies at Concordia University in Montreal. The foundation of the process is based on a Canadian theologian who's also a philosopher named Bernard Lonergan. So this colloquium in the IACB draws on Lonergan's framework for deliberation. I mean, one of the things about the colloquium is we end up with a consensus statement. So in terms of Lonergan's functional specialties, that's when you kind of move from dialectics to foundations. So we make a stand, in a sense. We stand on something that we've come together and we've agreed on. That not total agreement, but we have enough agreement that we're able to make a consensus statement that we then offer to the community. We offer to different communities, and that's another functional specialty, the functional specialty of what John does, how to write this in such a way that it's communicated to the different audiences. So the guiding light behind the whole process is how Lonergan has sort of figured out a methodology to bring diverse perspectives, diverse groups together in order to be able to work together. And his method, that underlying experience, understanding, judgment, and decision, that's how we all come to know what is true and what is good, by using that underlying process as a guide, as a framework that we can work together to explore these different issues. So Lonergan is really foundational to the whole process.
I'm Bishop Noel Simard, Bishop of Valleyfield. For me, it's a wonderful occasion, not only to discuss, very important topics and issues, and try to find ways, to answer the needs and to answer the complexity of the issues. Because, today it's not black and white. There is a lot of gray zone. So when we gather, it's a wonderful occasion to reflect upon, but also to be together, to feel also that we are not alone, that we are colleagues in looking for more light, more wisdom. So it's a wonderful occasion to open up and to widen our views and way of thinking.
Here are 60, 70, 80 people of very diverse backgrounds, anywhere from theologians to nurses, to healthcare ethicists like me, to chaplains and so forth, stuck together for 4 or 5 days in an extremely full program, and yet it all worked. I mean, not only did we get along very well, we actually managed to create a very rich, ongoing discussion that ultimately resulted in a very good consensus statement.